Hi, welcome to Landside Compliance. My name is Anthony Smith, Managing Director of Landside Compliance and Editor of Compliance News. On our channel, what we're looking to try and do is to bring regular updates of interest, things that are informative to you, the viewer and the reader, relating to the electrical industry and more so to the compliance industry as a whole. I hope you find it informative, hope you find it of use, and I hope you find it good enough for you to hit that subscribe button and wait for more to be placed on our YouTube channel to be able to bring you, the viewers, and through the Compliance News magazine, the readers, informative and interesting topics that will help you along your way. Welcome to Landside Compliance, to Landside Compliance News, and also to our YouTube channel to discuss some of the topics that you people have been putting out on social media over the last couple of months relating to this book here, BS 7671 Amendments 3, due to be in force in July of this year. Now, I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. I'm really pleased to welcome down today to answer some of your questions Mark Halls, who is the electrical guru at the IET, at Institute of Engineering Technology, and he's going to walk through and try and answer some of the questions that I've got, some of the questions that you've been putting out that would like to be answered as well. Now, we do know that with this particular box there has been like a 6-month stay reprieve, if you will, from when it was produced in January to when it comes into effect. And there's been a lot of questions in there that some of us would like to be answered, and hopefully we should be able to get to the bottom of that today. So, without further ado, let's see what we can get to the bottom of. Now, Mark, you've been with the IET for a considerable amount of time. How long have you been there? And please don't say 6 months.
10 years.
10 years. And over them 10 years, what have been some of the biggest changes that you've witnessed within the electrical industry, especially with regards to the regulations in 10 years?
I think the increase of RCD protection across installations, particularly additional protection, and RCD protection being brought into virtually every aspect of electrical installations.
How did you welcome that with this huge, because I know there was a lot of contractors out there, that me included, that thought that the inclusion of the RCDs back in 2008 was probably something to do with some fella that makes RCDs and was taking a bung off it, because now it was told there's RCDs everywhere. But what was your thoughts with regards to the importance placed on these mechanical devices?
Well, I sit on an international committee which is ICTC 64 MT9, which is about protection against electric shock, disconnection times and the like. And the work that we see from experts internationally and in Europe demonstrated that RCD protection was needed across the board, and it was mainly it's not protection of users, carelessness of users as well. So from there, I was, if you like, primed for when it was adopted into the UK. So I had the message all ready to be able to pass that on to people. Right. And granted, when we first saw RCBOs being included in installation, the cost of RCBOs, but they gradually came down. They're still more expensive than RCCBs combined with circuit breakers, but nevertheless, using RCBOs, they give us the discrimination, the separation of circuits.
Right. Okay. Now, with the introduction of this particular book here, and we've been doing seminars up and down the country trying to educate people as to the changes and trying to get to some of the nitty gritty behind it all. One of the things that's been coming out quite recently, and some of it has been quite well and truly off the rails, is regarding the 18th edition. I think there's a lot of things out there, but somebody says I don't need to bother even reading it because the 18th edition is coming out in a couple of months' time. I'm thinking, well, no, it's not. So, well, I've got it on good authority. I'm thinking, well, no, you haven't. So talk to me about that. So we've got this book here, and I'm right in saying there is no requirements as of yet to be able to go and to do like a City and Guilds update course for the requirements for this. It's more, you would do that when the 18th comes out. This is more like you need refresher courses or just even like a CPD seminar just to give you understanding to the changes.
I can't speak about the requirements of the scheme providers. The scheme providers, of course, require the individual, the qualified supervisors, the people working out there, to be up to speed. You need to be competent, of course, for what you're doing. You can gain your competency in different ways. You need to speak to City and Guilds, you need to speak to the scheme providers as to what they want. Do they want you to do these refresher courses? Certainly when the 18th edition comes along, and the industry is looking for the 18th edition in around 2018, that's a kind of loose plan at the moment. Whether that happens or not is another matter. But certainly by then, the amount of the new sections, the new information, people will have to retrain at that point.
Okay, so we're looking at, theoretically speaking at the moment, there's like 2018 being bounded around for the 18th edition. Is that coincidental or what, or is that just...
What, with 1818?
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't follow the challenge, but that doesn't mean that it's lost on me. But yeah, no, we're looking at roughly about 2018 potentially for the introduction.
The reason is, you see, every 3 years a snapshot is taken of the industry. Now, if you think, if you look in the early pages of BS 7671, BS 7671 is based primarily on Senelec documents, and when these Senelec documents, i.e. HDs, harmonised documents, when they're amended, we have a certain period of time to adopt those changes, and we take out any conflicting or anything that's out of date, and we implement the Senelec requirements. So that's why these regulations are updated regularly. Some people think it's too much. Well, you know.
Well, we did look at that. I mean, but then if you look at when the first book came out in 1882, I think it was, with that one-page document, and then we look on to now, we're talking, I think it's 130 odd years, we've had 17 editions. So it does seem like there's a lot, but then we've only really ever had 17 editions, and we've had sometimes like 5 different amendments. And this is why I'm thinking with the 2018 alleged 18th edition coming through, we've not yet seen like a blue book or a brown book yet. So. Yeah, are we going to see more amendments coming through?
Remember that when the 16th edition lasted a long time, lasted from essentially from 91 to 2008, so 17 years of the 16th edition went on for. Throughout that period, the book was revised and it was also amended. So we have many versions essentially of the 16th edition.
Yeah.
And there was obviously every time a new one came along, a different colour was used.
Yeah.
I don't think agreements have been made as to what the colour will be next time. But when you think back, the cover of the 16th edition was red, the cover of the 17th edition was red. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Wicked.
It's a colour.
Yeah, it is. It is. It baffles. But I mean, when we're looking at this, there's been some significant changes. Now we've been used to some significant changes in all the regs. I think one of the most notable ones was the changes from periodics to condition reports. We're very much a compliance industry. We are, especially a compliance business. So this is what really gets to the heart of what we're all about, and this is where our interest comes from, rather than the design aspects of what the book is all about. Now, inside this, we've got the reduced ZS values, with the implementation of the new CMID factor. Now, I'd like to just to give our viewers a little bit more of an explanation about that. But what I would like to ask you is that even with these CMID factors, we're still being asked to apply, in some certain circumstances, Appendix 14, the 80% rule of thumb, if you will, on top of the CMID values. Now, I, along with many others, will say, why didn't you just give us one value with everything incorporated and be done with it? Obviously, now you can talk to the viewers and see what you can give to that.
Historically, because of the way that the UK designed cross-section area of conductors, we did differently from what was happening in Europe. And this is highlighted a few years ago, a particular PD, off the top of my head I can't remember the number, we can certainly look at the regulation. PD's published document, and it was a method in which cross-section areas were calculated in Europe. Now, as I said, historically we did it differently to Europe. And now there's an annex within that document which allows the UK to align with Europe, which we had to do because we have to align with harmonisation of what's going on there. So because of that, we then took this value of 0.95, which is C-min. Now, with C-min, there's more to it. There's a C-max as well. If you look, rather than getting into a lot of detail, if you look in Guidance Note 1, there's a particular part about designing circuits where C-max is used under particular circumstances. Now, going back to the rule of thumb, is 80%. Appendix 14 is an informative annex, if you like. It's not part of the regulations, it's guidance, it's a way of complying with the regulations. So what that's essentially saying is that when you've installed a circuit and you want to test it, that circuit will be at room temperature, whereas the values given in the tables in chapter 41 are all about conductors being at their maximum operating temperature. So as temperatures increase, resistance values alter too. So that's why this 80% value is given in the appendix. It allows you to arrive at a figure when you're testing at a different temperature. And also when you get involved with, when you get into certainly On-Site Guide and other books, there are figures and factors given in there to allow you to reassess for other temperatures too. So,
Why, when you were touching on the on-site guide though, the on-site guide has always been pitched as being a book to deal with installations up to 100 amps. And people will use that no matter what installation they're working on, and it's not because it's a great source of information, but then people will discredit it on installations over 100 amps and say, well, it's only for... Why not take out the 100 amp section on the on-site guide and have it as an on-site guide across
because
the
you
board?
ended the book like that, essentially. I mean, its origins were for someone to have a ready reckoning, if you like, when they're out on site. They throw it in their toolbox on the dashboard of their van, and they can grab it and they can quickly look at it. Of course, we can do all that online now with the IET's Electrical Standards Plus platform. But that's essentially where do you draw the line? And you think about the amount of publications or the number of publications that the IET produces, which probably stack up like this, to get those into one book, to get all that information into one book, you've got to draw the lines.
With the ZS values, we're talking codings more than anything else on condition reports. Now, with the ZS values being reduced because of the Siemens factor, and we know that the readings inside here, or the values that have been given here, are quite generic. If you was to then have a value that would be acceptable one day but now is not acceptable the day after, many people would consider that to be a CT, potentially dangerous. I don't necessarily follow that train of thought. My opinions would be a more measured approach of, you have something which has been highlighted through the values placed inside the book, look at the manufacturer's recommendations, and then if it exceeds, then bring it to one's attention. Where do you stand on this? Because now you've got reduced values, which were okay. Well, obviously, if you've got it to that value anyway, then it's not really acceptable to a point, because you don't want it to be 1.14, do you? To be fair, you're going to be looking at your 0.34s, your 0.44 sort of thing. But on a socket circuit, we're talking about 32 amp. If it is acceptable one day and not the day after because of reduced Siemens values, what do you recommend would be the best course of action for people inspecting that moving forward?
Taking it back from the point of view of 7671, when you design a circuit, you design it within the parameters given. So you'll design it within the maximum voltage reach for that particular device. Now, we don't often design circuits right up to the nub, so it's not really about new installation. As you say, it's about assessing of existing circuits. So the example I give, it might be something like an old mineral insulated cable. It's been sitting there happily. Was right on the cusp previously, and he tested it and everything. You're happy with it, it's there, it's working. So now, from the 1st of July, it just goes on the wrong side of the line. You, as the inspector, to inspect that circuit, is it dangerous? Is it dangerous? It was fine yesterday, with a couple of 0.01s or something on the other side. For me, something like that wouldn't require condemning.
No.
That's you and I talking over a pint here.
Yeah.
For me, it wouldn't immediately need condemning.
So a measured approach, a further investigation from a good test.
You think about one end of the spectrum clearly complies, the other end of the spectrum